Senna bounced back today with a sizzling qualifying lap to shatter the track record.
Day 2, the temperature and the pace of the Australian Grand Prix are increasing by the minute.
Hot conditions with the temperature soaring into the high 20s made fast times difficult today. Drivers anxious to improve on yesterday's performances underestimated the tough street circuit and paid the penalty. American Eddie Cheever spun out during the practice session, and Frenchman Olivier Griard repeated his spinning act of yesterday, again showing his inability to handle the Adelaide track. Martin Brundle also found it difficult to control his Brabham. Nelson Piquet's practice run came to a sudden halt when he collided with Nigel Mansell, forcing the Ferrari back to the pits for a quick repair job on a clipped wing. The final qualifying session produced the characteristically aggressive driving of Ayrton Senna. Despite increasing heat, the Brazilian moved into overdrive to take pole position on his first fast lap, bettering his time from yesterday and edging ahead of bitter rival Alain Prost's first qualifying time by 0.8 of a second.
Let's see where the clock stops. 1:16.665. That's exactly as I said. He has knocked half a second off his previous time.
Prost attempted to improve on his time, but the Frenchman couldn't match the zip of Senna, a noted street fighter.
No, and that doesn't even improve on his yesterday's time. So that pretty much means it's all over as far as the front row of the grid is concerned.
Very few improved on their times, but one who did was Nigel Mansell. The Ferrari team spent the night working on alterations to the Britain's car after poor times yesterday.
In the past, Australian Grand Prix spectators have grown used to the screaming of the cars as they travel down the straight and the almost gun-like sound as they take tight corners. And this is the reason, the turbocharged engine. This year the turbos are out and the V8s, 10s and 12s are in. The normally aspirated sound is far deeper and the popping of the turbo is gone. But away from the all but deafening noises, there's a totally different level of sound for the drivers and their pit crews. Most teams have a radio system installed so the drivers and their crew communicate instantly.
It's a little bit understeering the car. These tires are not in a very bad condition, so we can have another run to check the balance.
The crew continually check with drivers to see the cars are being set up properly in practice times. As an example, Benetton's Emmanuel Pirot queries the crew about his tyres. They refer him to their other driver, Alessandro Nannini.
Alessandro is running the high downforce setup now. So let's just see what he's got to say or how it changes the balance.
The drivers check constantly where they're placed.
Senna's done 21.0, and then you're probably the second quickest car on full tanks. Same time as Prost and Boots.
Then there are the personal comments such as Martin Brundle in the Brabham as he tries to get a clear lap.
No, I had to do an extra lap. Larini came out of the pit, so I was heading first corner. And I got a big wobbly on the shit.
And Ayrton Senna wanting to know what Prost's time was.
Put on my board when I come next, Anna lap time. Anna lap time, put on my board when I come. Okay, Ayrton, I'm just going on what happened so far. There is a lot of cars left with a lot of tyres. It's going to get very busy at the end. Okay, so we'll look for the gap there.
Mike Sexton, National 9.
The beer, the buddies, and the steady throbbing sound of high-powered machinery. The girls can say what they like, but it's plain for all to see. In this macho mainstream, if you've got something to sell, the best form of advertising is... Mind you, it was plenty hot enough without that sort of thing. The Euro was tipping 28 degrees. By 2 o'clock it was already 30, and it was several degrees warmer down here at the track. Certainly warm enough to bring a touch of colour to your face. Still, some hardly found time to pack it all in. But as the day wore on, others were starting to sag. As Senna seared the circuit, they were sweating it out in the stands. There were those who couldn't take it and headed for the shade, and this kid who had it both ways. But even with the top guns out on the track, it seemed not everyone wanted to look at the cars. Some preferred to look at the cars, or perhaps just look at the cars. But that old Grand Prix spirit was alive and well on the catwalk of all places. This miss showed all the determination of a sawn-off Senna, while this little fella knows you never give up, even when your flag falls off. Tim Parker, National 9 News.
Back to racing, and our cameraman, Eddie Cheever, supplementing Channel 9's award-winning coverage, provided some spectacular final qualifying footage. After having trouble earlier in the season extracting himself from his car in the regulation 5 seconds, Eddie managed it perfectly this time. Piercarlo Cinsani had also announced his retirement from Grand Prix racing, and to the great delight of his mechanics, managed to get the Osella through pre-qualifying and qualify 21st for his last Grand Prix. Formula One's older statesman, René Arnoux, was also retiring from Grand Prix racing, and after a little speech at the drivers' briefing, rather touchingly gave all his colleagues a present. No one was rude enough to suggest that they might be from his collection of unused rear-view mirrors. Gerhard Berger would certainly need one, for he was starting way back in 14th place after a problem-filled practice. Teammate Nigel Mansell, 6th, had almost exclusive use of the spare car. Traction is a strong point of the new Williamses, putting Riccardo Patrese and Thierry Boutsen on row 3. Alessandro Nannini was 4th on the grid in the Benetton, using a new Ford development engine. Pierluigi Martini went even better than he had in Spain and Portugal, with a superb 3rd on the grid.
But the front row was the same as it had been time and time before this year. Prost and Senna forming the front row for the final duel. It would give Ron Dennis that rare smile.